This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review to the ending of the Boys comic books. And with this, I'm going to be taking a look at how the story ends, and to see if I think this will be adapted into the show. So, a potential spoiler warning for the show, since I am not sure if they will go with this storyline, and with a few of them at least, it seems that they won't be fully going this way. But yeah, I really want to see anything from the comics since I started reading them and potential spoilers to the show. But I wouldn't recommend, if you haven't read the comics, maybe don't watch this. But if you do, there is no guarantee that any of this will happen. And that's what I'm going to be looking at today. And looking at the most least likely part of this entire storyline to be adapted into it is the fact that Black Noir is a clone of Homelander and was actually behind everything. And with this, I think this is one that we can almost certainly confirm is not true. Although there are going to be parts of it put in, which were shown in the Boys Diabolical's final episode, with Black Noir just pushing Homelander just a little bit more into the path of being a villain. But with this, in the comic, Black Noir frames Homelander for a lot of things and causes his mental breakdown, is also the one who goes in, we'll just say, deals with Butcher's wife and is the reason she dies. And she does die in birth in the comics and doesn't live for a good amount of time with the child being alive. And with that, we also know that Ryan is Homelander's son, and I believe we have seen a little bit under Black Noir's mask and know that he is not white like Homelander is, and he was played by an African American actor. I'm not sure who the actor is, but I know that it won't be a direct adaptation, although it could have the storyline of Black Noir being grown to kill Homelander still in there, and helping subtly push him to be losing it more and more because he wants to kill him, and Vought won't let him until he's done something really bad. But yeah, with this, I feel like it'll be an extremely loose adaptation if they do go forward with this, and I am not sure how far they would go with it. Although I think there will be a adaptation of the final storyline, well, one of the final storylines in this, at least with Homelander and everything. With the next storyline that I think that is likely to happen in terms of it is one I'm still not sure would happen. Although I could see them going this way, I am not sure if they will. And it may not be to the extent that they went with it in the comics, because after everything has been resolved with Homelander taking him out, which I'll be briefly talking about after this, since I think that is the most likely storyline from the finale of The Boys to happen, we get to see that Butcher basically goes off the deep end after getting his revenge and wants to go and wipe out anyone that has any trace of Compound V in them committing genocide. And with this, Butcher definitely goes pretty far off the deep end and even kills all members of the Boys besides Huey. And the ending of the comics at least besides the epilogue chapter, is when Huey and Butcher fight to the death on the Empire State Building, and Huey's eventually able to win and paralyzes Butcher. And since he doesn't want to live life as a paralyzed person, Butcher goads Huey into killing him, which does work. And I'm not sure if they will fully go with this in The Boys, but honestly, I have no idea because it was an extremely brutal ending. I'm not sure if they will go and kill off every member of The Boys besides Huey, but I think that there will be a good amount of it adapted, and I'm not just sure to what extent. Because I think that, honestly, this is a really interesting way to go, and it could be interesting for a final season to see basically Homelander number one defeated and Butcher go off the deep end. But I am not fully sure if they'll go this way. But yeah, this is one I'm the most conflicted on. But now it's time to go into the final storyline, which I think will almost certainly be adapted. But this will be in the final or second to last season, depending on if they decide to go with the Butcher storyline. It already looks like they're actually having some of the seeds of this planted with the character of Victoria Newman taking place of Victor Newman, who was the vice president for most of the Boys comic run until the president is killed by like a weasel or something. It was really ridiculous. But yeah, the president gets killed, and Newman, who is in this also a Vought sympathizer, although it's a little more well known to the boys. We see that he takes over as president, going to finish up Vought's plans, but at this point, Homelander fully goes and executes his plan, realizing that Vought is going to replace him and all the heroes with clones to be a little more ready for military service. So he goes and takes out the president and leads an army of supes to take Washington, D.C. And with this, there's an extremely brutal scene as the superheroes go and slaughter their way into the White House, killing the new president and inflicting mass casualties as the military goes and takes them on. And with this, I think that it will be adapted in a different way. It's not going to be exactly this. It will most likely see Homelander fully revealing who he is and trying to take over the world. And I could see him either doing it at the UN or the White House. I think the White House would be, a little better just because it'd be comic accurate. It could be also interesting to see him attack the United Nations building, but I think the White House being a lot more famous of a building that people would recognize, since honestly, whenever I think of the United Nations building, I just think of kind of an average, kind of like just an average like tall building, not exactly a skyscraper. But that's just kind of what I think of. But when I think of the White House, although I am American, that might be a little biased, but I think it's a lot more iconic and is probably a better setting since it will be an extremely brutal fight. But with this, I think that, yeah, it looks like it's going to be really interesting if they do go with this storyline, because it is a pretty brutal storyline where we get to see basically the government get overthrown, a good amount of death, and yeah, it is extremely brutal. But honestly, I think that of the three main storylines that follow into the Boys Volume 6. I think that is the one that is almost certainly going to happen. We can already feel the seeds being planted with Victoria Newman getting the Office of Superior Affairs up and running. We could see her run for president, and it will be a little different because obviously she wouldn't be vice president, at least yet, although the new president could have her be his vice president, but I'm not sure. Or they could just go the direct way. Either way, I think it will be interesting to see, and I'm not sure if this will happen this season. I feel like it won't. It'll happen in either seasons 4, 5, maybe 6. It could take a good amount of time to get there, although I am not sure. And with this, there's a few other things that will likely happen, like Huey killing A-Train in final revenge against what he has done. Although, Huey could make a different choice and decide to spare him, since at the point A-Train is taken captive, and yeah, I'm not really sure if he would do it. But still, I think this is very interesting, and they've definitely done a different take than the comics, since in the comics they built up to the boys taking on the Seven, with the Seven being a constant threat in the background, but them basically having a truce until Homelander goes and tries to take over the government. And yeah, honestly, with this, I am excited to see where they go because it is pretty crazy, and I am excited to see how this continues. But I want to know what you think. Have you read the comics? Have you not? And which one of these storylines do you think will happen? Honestly, I'm not sure if I will ever do a full review of the comic series because that comic series is extremely graphic. That is very adult, with there being a lot of nudity, extreme violence, and more in it. I definitely recommend it, but you need to be warned that this comic series is very adult and something that you will definitely be affected by if you are pretty sensitive. Even if you enjoy the show, it is a lot more extreme than the show. And I think it definitely is a little more enjoyable in the show, with it being a lot more brutal and not having any restrictions at all. But I do want to know what you think. As I said, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.